Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is Maguire Schippmann. So, Maguire, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Maguire Schippmann, the co-founder of Untamed Outfitters. I'm currently living in Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm originally from just outside of Atlanta.
Awesome. So, yeah, I'm just curious more about your brand. Like, what exactly is it, and how did you guys get the idea for it?
Yeah, so our brand, Untamed Outfitters, kind of a long story, I guess, of how we created ourselves. But ultimately, we're a lifestyle action brand, currently just selling clothes and skateboards. With plans to, continue to grow our inventory. We started out this idea. I've been creating, random things all my life, whether it was art, photography, just kind of makeshift t-shirts. But I saw a gap in the market over the course of the summer and just realized a lot of the old brands that I grew up with, whether it was like Quicksilver, Volcom, I think and PacSun's another one. Sorry if I said that. They're all starting to kind of phase out of the market. I grew up skateboarding, living that lifestyle, and I just noticed that a lot of those old brands are just not being worn as much, and I feel like we could fill that gap.
That's awesome. So in terms of like, I guess like it's one thing to have an idea, but it's a whole different thing to actually go and start the business, which, is not like an easy feat. So how did you kind of go about, taking this gap that you saw in the market to actually starting things and even designing prototypes, things like that?
Yeah, for me to start the business, really, I've always pursued had interest in entrepreneurship and creating my own business. And just going about it, I finally gained the confidence to do the research, put in the hard work, and actually form the LLC. It wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. It took a little bit of encouragement from just kind of talking about it with my brother, and him and I are now working together and building this. But I think him and I, we finally just kind of flipped the switch and said, the best day to do something is right now. So we just got to work and officially we got our LLC in November 2024.
So I guess I'm just curious though, in terms of like your actual process of designing and coming up with the content, like, it's like, yeah, I mean, you guys have some cool designs, like it's super unique. So how did you actually like come up with these ideas to go and launch with like these designs, like the skateboards and the shirts and things like that?
Yeah, for me, they're all things that kind of hold a personal connection with some of the designs. A lot of them either have elements of like mortality that saying, we're only going to exist this one time on the planet. We have to live our most bold life possible, pursue self-discovery, self-improvement. And that's kind of like where I was going with the brand. The lifestyle brand itself is people that are seeking the best versions of themselves, adventure, action. A lot of the brands that we grew up with, like Quicksilver, Vans, all of them are very niche. There's not a brand tailor-made for all adventurers. Like you have your North Face is kind of predominantly hikers, Vans is typically skating, you got surf brands. We do it all. I mean, living this adventurous lifestyle, there's people that dabble in all of those different areas. And we just wanted to represent like, hey, you might not be the best surfer in the world, but you dabble in it, you also enjoy hiking. We want to tailor our brand to everyone that kind of lives a little bit more adventurously.
That's awesome. And then in terms of like your vision for the brand, like do you see this as like a brand that's going to be more direct to consumer, or would you want to, be like in retail? Like what is kind of like, where do you see this brand kind of selling more? Like if not this or even like the year after and beyond?
For me, I would love to grow the community of adventurers. I feel like that's our kind of our hard spot right now is just making awareness known like, hey, we're open for shop. These are our morals. These are what we stand for as a business. And I think a lot of people do resonate with the idea. We're all trying to, make the best life for ourselves. And for some people, that may not be adventure, and that's totally okay. For us, we're not saying you have to be the craziest skydiver. You have to be an amazing surfer. It's taking the little things in life, taking a different drive home or different road that you've never taken on your way home from the office. That is also adventurous. you're seeing more, you're exposing yourself more to new ideas, pushing yourself and like taking small risks is what we're all about. With the brand, I would love to see some content creators jump on board, that people that are already doing these things in their daily lives that could represent our brand. Like myself, we are doing these things every day, and going back to your question and the vision, I would love to host more community events as we continue to grow in local, hubs of adventure, whether I'm here local in Nashville and we've got some awesome hiking trails, so we could put together potentially a group hike or a 5K, something to get the adventurous community together for sure.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think Nashville is a great place to launch this brand because, I mean, just to your point, I have, several friends who live in Nashville and they kind of fit this persona that you're talking about, very active and adventurous. So I think it's a good place to kind of, go there and have these events and connect with people in the community. And then is that kind of like your vision for this summer, right? Summer's like around the corner, to have these events and meet people, sell these shirts to customers like locally, like in the area first.
Yeah, that would be the plan. Really, this summer we're already in talks with the city that I grew up in. We're in talks with the local government for hosting like a more July 4th. I don't think it'll be on the day of July 4th, but it'll be like a freedom themed 5K. So that's something coming down the works. And I definitely hope the aim is to really have a great event and push people to also push themselves. But if we sell some shirts that day, that would be awesome as well.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool, right? Because you're just creating like a brand that can connect with so many different types of people who, to your point, I feel like everybody has your own kind of definition of like what adventure is. And it's different for different people. But yeah, I mean, I think especially, starting locally and getting in front of people is such a great way, because I feel like so many brands make this mistake of they just spend too much money on ads too early. And, cash flow is super important, like any small business. So it's like before you even have money to spend that much money, especially when you're bootstrapping, it's smart that you're doing this in like in a more strategic way, like locally in your hometown, like in Nashville, things like that.
Yeah, definitely with the local presence is great, since I'm kind of already involved in a lot of those adventurous communities. Over the last year, I'm a proclaimed adventurer, right? I'm not on the cover of Nat Geo. I'm really just using my free time to go take a hike outside, go for a walk, go kayak, whatever interests you, or maybe it's something you've never tried before. That's all we're asking or trying to say with our brand is like, hey, do the things that scare you a little bit, right? And push yourself out of the comfort zone.
For sure. Yeah.
And social media, like you said, is another huge place where like people are doing amazing things all over the globe. And it'd be great to grow locally in our different communities. There's people, traveling all over the globe, doing different adventurous things in all sorts of different countries. So this is by all means not local to just here in Nashville. We definitely would love to grow with you guys all over the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like there's people who are adventurous, and I think the best product lines or the best brands or brands and the founders create like the product for themselves, right? Like you fit the persona. It's like you're building this for yourself, for your brother, as you mentioned. So you guys are building this together. So as opposed to just like some people that start a brand of like random products that they don't even use, targeting like a different audience, like you are the audience, right? So I think from that standpoint, you can definitely, speak more to your community because you're selling this product to people who you're already kind of resonating and connected with as well.
Yeah, and who knows where I'll end up, or like what other interests I'll continue to grow into. And that's a key point. I didn't really realize I don't want to start something that I'm not passionate about or don't live the company name or motto, right? It's obviously a work in progress. We're all evolving every day into becoming whoever we'll become. And I have to remind myself daily, this company, it's hard to balance with my, corporate job. I want to live adventurously as possible. And sometimes it can't be done with a 9 to 5, but every free moment I have, it's about capturing, the essence of life is really going out into the world. For me, that's what adventure means to me is pushing my boundaries, self-discovery and self-improvement.
Awesome. So if
I
we're going to
appreciate it.
have this, yeah. So like, if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
Yeah, I would love to be more of a household name when people think of adventure. I don't want them to think of, the name Untamed can be a little off-putting, right? You see Untamed, it's like go against the grain, but it's more about not living recklessly. It's about taking calculated risks and really just embracing like what life will throw at you and not taking it too personal. But where I see the company in a year from now, that's entirely up to where, our content creators will, where our brand potentially have these events throughout the year. I would love to see Untamed Outfitters become more of a household name when people start thinking of adventure.
For sure. And obviously you have not been doing it for that long, but I'm curious if you could just go back in time to before you even started anything with this idea. What is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before getting into this business?
It doesn't have to be perfect right away. The main thing that was preventing me from launching, I sat probably on for 2 months with a lot of social media content. It did give me a time frame to build up and prepare for our launch, which was it was good, but I think I hesitated too long. It also is like there's never going to be a right moment to take the first step. Just send it is the in the our adventures world or action sports, a lot of people just say send it, and that's exactly what you need to do. Is don't have fear about taking the risk. If you believe in it, like you said, if you're passionate about it and it does tailor to your business or your lifestyle, then I think if you're authentic with it, there really can be no downfall or no risks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like any new brand, nothing's ever going to be perfect from day one. And I think, it's good to kind of just put things out in the market and let your customers tell you, hey, look, I like this design, or I don't like that design, or I like this shirt or this. So it's good to just launch, get that feedback and keep iterating and growing, like, as you guys improve.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like I've definitely grown a lot over the last few months of just having the LLC, like working a corporate job and seeing that aspect of business versus being the sole owner and being able to, have to wear all the hats all at once. It's a very different experience, but I feel like I'm growing very quickly in that too, and it's almost like a forced growth mode.
For
It's
sure.
like
So
evolve or die.
no, exactly. Yeah, you sort of have no choice. So I guess like on that note, right? Like if somebody was interested in your brand and wanted to learn more, do you mind sharing like your website or social media? I guess best ways to
Yeah,
get in contact.
the best place to reach us, I would say, is our Instagram. Right now, that's untamed underscore outfitters. And in there is our website. You can check out our products. We are definitely trying to grow our social media presence, but I would say Instagram is the best place to connect with us.
Awesome. Well, Maguire, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show, Dan. I appreciate your time. Look forward to potentially being on here in a year from now and catching back up.
Sounds great. Thank you.